Next week's SmackDown set to have a massive main event. What WWE superstar did we say our goodbyes to this past Monday night on Raw? And what mysteries did we solve? And what mysteries are still looming following this week's WWE programming? That and much more on this episode of Wrestling Brother Talk Smack. Welcome back to Wrestling Brother Talk Smack. I'm your host, Wrestling Brother. If this is your first time joining, like and subscribe and hit that notification bell for updates each and every time we drop content. I've said it before, I'll say it again. This is the perfect opportunity to get behind a good wrestling show, and I believe we have a good wrestling show here. We are on the road to WrestleMania, even though in some ways it doesn't feel like it. We are on that road, and in just 7 short weeks, we'll be there. So let's get into what happened this week. So this week's show is a little different. I recorded my SmackDown recap, and technical difficulties transpired. That show will be clips from that show will be released throughout the week through our YouTube shorts. So hit the YouTube shorts for more specific SmackDown analysts from me for that last week's SmackDown. I will hit some of the highlights today, but for the more in depth, it'll be on our YouTube shorts. I know that feels weird because we're going in depth on the shorts, but I think you'll get the drift. So Monday Night Raw came to us from Atlanta, Georgia, which is just miles away from where AJ Styles grew up. This paid host to his farewell, which, it's great when these legends do get a good farewell. But that's what this show was literally built around because nothing else on this show mattered. The only other segment on this show that mattered was also pertaining to the AJ Styles thing. The show opened with Gunther, who comes out, and part of this was just like whatever. So Gunther comes out and talks about how, the fans love losers like Goldberg, like John Cena, like AJ Styles, basically all the people that he's retired. And I was a little perplexed because we're a few days away from Elimination Chamber. He lost his Elimination Chamber qualifying match the week before because of interference by Dragon Lee. Why is he not addressing that? But coming out here and talking about losers this and losers that, well, you retired some people, cool, but this was your opportunity to get back into the world championship scene on Raw. And you're here talking about how AJ Styles is a loser, who you retired. John Cena's a loser that you retired. Goldberg is a loser. What was the point of that? But it was a good segment. It was literally him kind of just inciting that hate, and the GM comes down, Adam Pearce comes down and is like, hey man, I knew you were gonna come out and do this. So he had the security goons come out, the putties, the foot soldiers, he had them come out and take him away. And Gunther's like, cool, you know what? I want to leave. I'll leave. So he kind of left willingly. He didn't give him the old foot soldier treatment, but he walks out. As he's walking down the ramp, right before he gets to the back, he kind of turns his back, like back towards the ring, and Dragon Lee jumps him from behind, and they go backstage, and he continues to jump him and whatnot. That whole segment was to get him out of the building so that there wasn't a chance of him interfering in the AJ Styles tribute at the end of the show. So then, again, the AJ Styles tribute, all the wrestlers came out, and they were at the ramp, and they're all clapping. Now, mind you, when this crowd was quiet during most of the show, and most of the show was worthy of the crowd being quiet for. It was it was not one of the better offerings. But when AJ came out, I don't recall the crowd going crazy until he actually grabbed the mic and doesn't even say anything. And then it was like everybody snapped to it, like, oh shit, we should probably be going, AJ Styles. And they did, and they gave him love. And like I said, the all the boys came from the back, and then next thing you know, you hear the Undertaker coming out. And it's like, whoa, that's pretty special. Undertaker's, making an appearance for AJ Styles, but really and truly, if you've been following things since Undertaker's taken this backstage role, he's the new Hall of Fame announcer guy. So he went out and let AJ Styles know that, hey, you are going to be in the Hall of Fame. So he's a true first ballot Hall of Famer. It's a little weird that you're in a year that both he and John Cena are kind of like calling it quits, within a month apart. And he's the first ballot, and you're not going to put John Cena in. I think AJ is going to be the headliner, but they're saving John Cena's Hall of Fame for something else in the future. That's what they're doing. And when they need to sell tickets or do something, they want to use that. They want to have that card tucked away for when they feel like they need it. But anyway, AJ Styles is going in the Hall of Fame, and it's well deserved. You know, and I there's a couple wrestlers that I always said, like, if I were one of the boys, I would want to work in the ring like them. AJ Styles is one of them. The other is Shawn Michaels, and it's because their styles are so good. Like they're just so good in the ring. They can have matches with your big guys and make them look great. They can have matches with guys around their size and athleticism, and those matches just are insane and all of those things, right? And you'll sometimes hear people say, "Oh, Shawn Michaels can make a broomstick look good in the ring." AJ Styles is one of those guys as well. I don't necessarily hold him quite in the same regard because I think AJ does have more matches that I'm like, I could have done without than Shawn Michaels did. Most of Shawn Michaels matches, even when they were with people that, couldn't really move like, well, he made them look good, right? Um, but like, AJ Styles did have some stinkers in WWE, and but even an AJ Styles stinker is better than a lot of people's really good matches. So, I didn't think too fondly of the feud he had like with Shinsuke Nakamura where they had the Mania match and then they had a match after that that was like mostly just nut shots and things like that. I didn't like that. I enjoyed AJ's feud with James Ellsworth better than the one with Nakamura, but those are the two guys. If from an in-ring standpoint, I would want to be like, not necessarily on the mic. I don't think AJ was ever the strongest on the mic. He's not trash, but he's not a wordsmith like a CM Punk or Drew McIntyre or anything like that. He just, he can get on the mic and say what he needs to say and kind of get out the way. But congratulations to AJ Styles. He is now going to be a Hall of Famer in the 2026 WWE Hall of Fame. So, congrats to AJ Styles. One of the biggest wastes of the week was this Brock Lesnar appearance because it literally did nothing. It did nothing. He literally came out, and mind you, the segment before, not even the segment, like, how they run something right before they go back to ringside. It was a Oba Femi vignette thing, kind of the promo video talking about Oba Femi. And so now you're putting Oba Femi on everybody's mind as Brock Lesnar now walks out. And of course, that's not the business you solve. They solve no business with Brock Lesnar. And Paul Heyman comes out with him, and it was very short and to the point. It was WrestleMania used to be built around two things. You had your WWE Championship and the Undertaker streak, because Undertaker was this attraction and this, that, and the third. Well, now Brock Lesnar is that. Brock Lesnar is going to be that attraction, pretty much removing him from any title talks or anything like that. He's an attraction now, and it's gonna be like facing an Undertaker like figure at WrestleMania because he's somebody that's like that, that can really, you know, be an honor to be and share the ring with them on WrestleMania. And, you know, Brock Lesnar appearances ever since he has returned in, I believe it was 2012, have been few and far in between. He works a few Raws here and there or SmackDown here and there, whatever, the business dictates. And then he'll work some of your PLEs. And when I say make appearances, he makes appearances. The only match he's had on network television or cable television, whatever it's on, since 2012 was 7 seconds with Kofi Kingston. So you don't expect him to come out and work a 10 minute, 10, 15, 20-minute match. It's not happening. When he's on Raw or SmackDown, it's normally to advance something. This was nothing more than showing the dates that he's going to be working between now and Mania to help drive ticket sales. They think that the audience wants to see Brock Lesnar. They think that that is what's going to drive ticket sales. Brock Lesnar was largely nowhere to be found when WWE was at its hottest a couple years ago with the Bloodline angle. It wasn't just because Roman Reigns is this big star, it was because you were telling an amazing story. If you tell amazing stories, the product sells itself. You don't have to advertise that Brock Lesnar is going to be there. Because I can tell you right now, the average person doesn't give a shit about Brock Lesnar being there because Brock Lesnar is not going to wrestle. Brock Lesnar is just going to come out there and do like this, and maybe by then he's on a collision course with Obafemi, but it's quite possible that he's on a collision course with LA Knight, accepting this open challenge. So they laid out that it's going to be an open challenge, whatever that means. And then finally, we had a big change in the elimination chamber lineup for the men's because of a very unfortunate injury to Bronson Reed during the elimination chamber qualifying match that he had with Jey Uso and El Grande Americano, the OG El Grande Americano. And so WWE had to pivot, and Jey Uso had to go over. Jey Uso was visibly not happy about this. I'm assuming he had planned because he didn't plan on being on the show for that weekend. He's like, I ain't working that shit. And the referee's like, come on, man, we'll get through it or whatever. Which ends up being a perfect segue into how we opened up on SmackDown. SmackDown had a cold open, and I love cold opens. They hardly do them. It's normally, the video packages and the people strolling through, with their little rolling backpacks, and oh, Nia Jax is here and she's going to be in action tonight. No, they opened up with Jey Uso getting carted off into an ambulance with Jacob Fatu by his side screaming and, we need to get help. We need to get out of here. Or we gonna find out who did this, blah, 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 blah. It's just writing Jey Uso out of this elimination chamber thing. And it ends up turning into the Vision showing up, which is just Logan Paul and Austin Theory. I was about to say Austin Powers. That would be pretty entertaining, actually. Austin Theory and Paul Heyman, they show up. And yeah, I was about to say, how wild is this? Like, you're trying to create another mystery, right? Triple H is loving these mysteries and these crates, and I think is this done in lieu of good storytelling? It's just like, oh, it's a mystery, it's a murder mystery. We'll solve it. And anyway, luckily Nick Aldis did kind of say, "Hey, Vision, why are you here? You guys are, it's ironic that hey, Jey Uso gets attacked and you guys all of a sudden pop up." And they just talk about, hey, they're there for the opportunity. They deserve to be in the chamber, blah, 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 blah. Nick Aldis gets says, it's political around here. I got to make calls. So he makes calls and does whatever. Jacob Fatu pretty much makes the same pitch. Nick Aldis kind of gives him the same answer. He's got to make a call. Of course, it ends up being that's the main event of the evening. It's going to be Logan Paul versus Jacob Fatu for the final spot in the Elimination Chamber. That match ends with Logan Paul winning after, of course, Drew McIntyre comes in and uh, attacks Jacob Fatu. That leads to Logan Paul being able to get the win and securing that final spot. Bronson Reed was supposed to win that match on Monday. There, this was a babyface heavy match already. I mean, because the only heel in there is actually the most over one in the entire match in Trick Williams. So you got a bunch of people that the crowd's going to be cheering for, and then you're gonna put Jey Uso to yeet in there, like it really made no sense. So you had to get a heel in there. Jacob would have done fine too, but yet another person that some of the fans are likely gonna want to cheer for, and it just pulls the heat completely out of the match. So Logan Paul ends up in the chamber. So now the crate. I think so the crate first appeared on WWE programming a couple weeks ago. Adam Pearce didn't want to deal with it. He says, hey, ship it off to Nick Aldis and the good people at SmackDown. Nick Aldis gets it, says he doesn't want to deal with it, ship it back to Raw. At that very moment is when I feel like the credibility of what was going to be in the crate began to be diminished. Because when we first saw it, I held out hope that, hey, this is going to be, now I didn't think Chris Jericho would actually be corny enough to actually be inside the crate. Chris Jericho is pretty hands-on with his character and how things are gonna go, and he wouldn't go for that. But I could have seen, it being like a mannequin with a jacket on there, or something of that nature. It's in some sort of display stand, and it's his jacket and the jacket glittering or something, and for the to pop the crowd, right? Because I know he's still kind of in limbo with AEW or whatever. But then on Monday Night Raw, or was it SmackDown? It was one of them. There, Johnny Gargano was laying on top of it, and then you had, all the catering people that are always hanging around catering, Fraxium and the Motor City Machine Guns and Apollo Crews. First team all catering. That's who was there. First team all catering. And when you surround something in a segment with those people, it's going to dictate what's there. That means it's going to be something that's a little mid, slightly below mid card, or it's going to just be some goofy comedy stuff. That's all it means. Then on Friday Night SmackDown, you had first team all catering back there. And now they're with our truth, and our truth is giving a seminar or a training course on how to download ESPN Plus so that you can watch the Elimination Chamber. Again, it tells you everything you needed to know about this. It's not going to be Royce Keys. It's not going to be anything remotely possibly main event-ish. It's going to be something bad. Now, the rumors started floating about Danhausen that, he got pulled off the AEW website and, after rumors started and this and that. And I did a little research on Danhausen and I was like, you know what? That's 100% Danhausen based on, you know, everything I saw. It made total sense. And fine. Why does it need to be opened on Elimination Chamber? Elimination Chamber is supposed to be your WrestleMania like last chance WrestleMania type thing. Like it's your last chance to punch your ticket at WrestleMania to call, well, not call your shot because the Royal Rumble person gets to call their shot, but you basically get to face that other world champion. So it's like it's not a big four, not a big five, but it is that pay-per-view that is so pivotal into setting up WrestleMania following the Royal Rumble. And to have something that you have that's a mystery and it doesn't make sense for WrestleMania. Like, who gives a shit what Dan Hansen, Danhausen does at WrestleMania? Who gives a shit? Well, right before the main event on Elimination Chamber, the crate comes out. Both GMs are there. They crack the crate open, and inside the crate lies a coffin. The coffin opens, and there are some dancers that dress exactly like Danhausen dress. And then he comes out to what I guess will be his theme music, gets into the ring with the dancers, the lights cut off, he's gone. And one of the few times we heard noise from that Chicago crowd, they were booing. I don't think they were booing him. I don't think they were booing the character. I think they were booing the moment, and rightfully so. At Elimination Chamber, this crowd understood the assignment. They no sold all the right things. They booed the stupid surprise. They were quiet during the AJ Lee match. They this I can count on three fingers the times you heard the crowd. You heard them boo the surprise. You heard them whoop that trick, and they popped for Rhea. They popped for Orton. I'll say they popped for Orton. I'm trying to be as objective as possible. They popped for the Orton win as well. Um, of course they made a lot of noise for CM Punk. So five things. They made a lot of noise for CM Punk. CM Punk's entrance was probably the best thing on the show. He came out to the old Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan entrance. And you know, it was so like nostalgic and spot on with even the same announcer from that era. And man, I literally was like, is CM Punk coming out with Jordan and Tony Kukoc? And that's how good it was. He does eventually come out with his own theme. He actually came out to his own theme music, but that was a really good moment. He got a nice ovation, but even his match, they were pretty damn quiet. I'll run down the matches really, really quick. Women's Elimination Chamber, it was it was a good Elimination Chamber match. It wasn't as good as the one last year. And there was another one that was pretty fire a couple years ago. This one's probably number three or four. This one was really good. Kiana James looked really good in that match. Raquel Rodriguez looked awesome in that match. Nipple slip and all. She looked amazing in the match. And the right person won. I know people are going to talk about the Rhea fatigue and all that, but with Jade Cargill, you got to put her in there with somebody you can trust. You got to put her in there with somebody that has had this spotlight already. and I think it's going to give her a good match. Hopefully Jade wins the match. I think that'll be a huge win. That'll really solidify her as a top women's star in the industry, which she's pretty much there, but that win will be monumental for her. But no, this they were, again, Kiana James and Raquel Rodriguez were stars in that match, and Tiffany Stratton, that girl works her ass off. What I love about Tiffany Stratton is, she almost looks like straight out of the Divas era, right? Like just pretty Barbie doll, and man, and she's all that when she comes out. When she comes through the curtain, her entrance, she's Barbie doll. She even had the Barbie doll entrance last year at Mania. But when she gets in that ring, she here for the bumps. She here for the blood. She there to cook, and cook she does. So I know there's little Tiffany. Well, there's not Tiffany fatigue. There's Tiffany Jade fatigue. So we didn't need to see that matchup, but Tiffany is good. If she can get her promo game together, like top star, absolute top star. I respect her in-ring work so much because again, she could very easily just be, putting on her makeup and shit. But no, she gets in that ring and she works her ass off. All right. We had the match that I feel like I should care about, but I just didn't. AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch. And of everything, I wanted at least Becky Lynch to walk away with the victory. AJ Lee just doesn't it has not this return has done nothing for me. I was initially excited about it because I'm like, hey, yet another women's star. But with her working this Lesnar schedule, not being on TV, there's not enough meat on the bone to do anything that makes sense. She should just do some one-off matches. I know she expressed on an interview, I think it was maybe the one with Minnie Portal, where she said she'd love to wrestle Bailey. I'd love to see that, and you know, but she doesn't need to have any title, and because it just screams that they're going to have another rematch at Mania. Maybe they're going to do like a Hell in a Cell or something. I don't know, but. Me and many other content creators are leaning on the Jessica Carr and Becky Lynch should have a feud, and I think that would be better than anything that they can do with AJ Lee. And hell, I think AJ Lee will, AJ Lee just needs to get that belt to Mania and put somebody else over. I don't care if it's Natty. I don't care if it's Maxine Dupree. I don't care if it's Jermaine Dupree. I don't just get it off of AJ Lee. Um, it quickly, but AJ Lee got the win in this matchup after, a lot of foolishness with Jessica Carr. And so I think that would be a really good Mania attraction to have Jessica Carr versus Becky Lynch. So especially after Jessica Carr has been in her way so many times. And Jessica Carr knows how to work from what I understand. So it'd be interesting to see something like this end up making it into the ring. Finn Balor and CM Punk. There was never any doubt in this match. And this match, I hear some people saying it was a pretty good match. I have not been impressed with CM Punk matches lately. Jey Uso kind of took a lot of the heat from the match they had at Saturday Night's Main Event. But I'm sorry, CM Punk, again, you have guys like AJ Styles and Shawn Michaels who made guys look good. There's no doubt in my mind AJ would have carried a match with Jey Uso much better than Punk did. Punk sometimes comes out there and just looks lazy and tired and out of it. The first, especially the first like 5 minutes or so, like he's just like there. he does typically get it together at some point in the match, but it's like he's easing into it or something. But this match, I mean, the crowd was quiet. And you hear Michael Cole saying, "Oh yeah, Finn Balor's done a great job of taking the crowd out of it." The fuck? The fuck you mean? They should be booing his ass. Like if you're healing that good, they should be booing your like there should be heat. There should absolutely be heat. And it's just the crowd was telling you what they thought about the show that they were getting for the premium price that they paid, and rightfully so. CM Punk gets the win. We didn't even get any Judgment Day interference or anything. I kind of felt like they weren't because the commentary made a point to say they're both here. They're both here in the back. Let's see how long it takes for them to come out. They're probably when the commentators say stuff, you always got to take it shit backwards, man, because it's they're setting you up. They're setting you up, and it was as anticlimactic as anything. Then we got the Danhausen thing. We already talked about that bullshit. So then we had the men's elimination chamber match, which the entrances were long, and I don't mind. I don't mind, long entrances. But what I do mind is everybody fucking staring off in the freaking pods. You don't like that's not for everybody to do. That's to me, that's for your East. When you have a Brock Lesnar in there, when you have an Obafemi, somebody that's just like, are you really here to come see me? You know what I mean? But like, come on, man. Like everybody like checking for everybody and like, come on, man. Just go to your pod and wait your turn. The match itself, Logan Paul got 3 pinfalls. That tells you everything you need to know about how this match went. He got Javon Evans out of there, he got Logan Paul out of there, and he got Trick Williams out of there. It was down to him, Randy, and Cody. We knew it was going to come down to Randy and Cody. Came down to Randy and Cody. Drew McIntyre comes in, interferes, takes out Cody, takes out he took out Cody, he took out somebody, and Randy Orton capitalized off of it, gave Cody Rhodes an RKO out of nowhere, and he gets the 1, 2, 3. Randy Orton's going to WrestleMania, but Randy Orton's going to have a little company because it ain't going to be over at that. It's not. It ain't over. They Following that match on the press conference, we see Nick Aldis make the announcement that because of the way Drew McIntyre's been ducking the smoke, he didn't want the smoke with Cody. He helped cost Cody that Elimination Chamber match. That he's going to have to defend his title this Friday night on SmackDown against Cody Rhodes. We all know something crazy is going to happen, and it's going to turn into either a 3-way or a 4-way. I think it's going to be a 4-way because I don't know what you do with Jacob Fatu if he doesn't end up in this match as well. So as long as they don't convolute it too much, I think we'll be okay. So that's the big SmackDown match. So we're gonna get it again. We just had 3 stages of hell, but I think this match is gonna be a little different. I think we're gonna see a lot of interference in there, and it's gonna set up the Mania match that's gonna be multi-person, which Randy Orton should have a huge problem with. Because he did his part and he won the Elimination Chamber to punch his ticket. And now, because of Drew's action, he has to suffer. Anyway, that's this week's episode of Wrestling Brother Talk Smack. Make sure you follow me on socials. On TikTok, it's Wrestling Brother on TikTok, and on Instagram, I am Wrestling Brother, both with an A. Also, if you haven't done so already, hit the like and subscribe button and ring that notification bell so that you can get pinged each and every time we drop new content. Again, this is Wrestling Brother Talk Smack, where we don't pop for the moments, we analyze the moments. Until next week.